Commander Kim Dae-ho stood on the roof of Seoul Defense Command, watching the morning sky with his coffee growing cold in his hand. He had been awake for 36 hours straight, ever since the first reports came in from the outer detection stations. Something was coming toward Earth, and it was big. The radar screens showed objects larger than aircraft carriers moving through space at impossible speeds. The signals had appeared 3 days ago, growing stronger with each passing hour. Every military base on the planet was on high alert, but Kim knew their weapons would be useless against technology that could cross the stars. "Sir, they're here," Captain Lee Soo-jin called from behind him. Her voice was steady, but Kim could hear the fear underneath. They all knew this day might come eventually. Humanity had always wondered if they were alone in the universe. Now they had their answer, and it was arriving whether they wanted it or not. Kim turned to see the first ship breaking through the clouds above Seoul. It was enormous, easily 10 times larger than their biggest military vessel. The hull was smooth and dark like polished stone with no visible engines or weapons. It moved in complete silence, floating down toward the city as if gravity meant nothing to it. "How many cities are reporting contacts?" Kim asked, though he already knew the answer would be bad. 17 major cities worldwide, sir. New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, Beijing. They all have ships just like this one coming down at the same time, Soo-jin replied, checking her tablet. All of them are landing in the same type of location, military command centers or government buildings. Kim nodded grimly. Whatever these visitors wanted, they were being very organized about it. This was not a random exploration. This was planned contact, and they had chosen to approach the people with the most weapons first. That could be good or very bad. The alien ship settled onto the large parade ground in front of the command building with no sound at all. Up close, Kim could see that the hull had patterns carved into it, like writing or decorations. The ship was beautiful in a way that made his chest tight with worry. Beautiful things this advanced usually belong to civilizations that could destroy planets. "Tell all units to hold position, and do not fire unless directly attacked," Kim ordered. "And get Dr. Park Min-ho down here immediately. If we're going to talk to aliens, we need our best scientist present." Within minutes, people began gathering around the ship at a safe distance. Soldiers took defensive positions, scientists set up recording equipment, and government officials arrived in black cars with flashing lights. Everyone wanted to see humanity's first contact with alien life, but no one wanted to get too close. For 2 hours, nothing happened. The ship sat silent and still like a giant monument. Some people began to wonder if it was just a probe or unmanned vessel. Then, without warning, a section of the hull simply dissolved away, creating a perfect doorway. The being that emerged was like nothing Kim had ever imagined. It was tall, nearly 3 meters high, with long arms that ended in hands with too many fingers. Its skin looked like it was made of crystal or polished stone, reflecting light in rainbow patterns. Most strange of all, it had 4 arms instead of 2. And each one moved independently as if controlled by separate minds. "My God," whispered Dr. Park Min-ho, who had arrived just in time to see the first alien step onto Earth soil. "Look at the way it moves. The balance, the coordination. This is a species that evolved for complex manipulation tasks. They're probably incredibly intelligent." 2 more aliens emerged from the ship, both carrying devices that looked like weapons but could have been tools. Everything about them suggested advanced technology and careful planning. They moved with the confidence of beings who had done this many times before. The first alien raised one of its 4 arms, and suddenly a voice filled the air around them. It spoke in perfect Korean, though its mouth never moved. "Greetings, inhabitants of this world. I am Vexthar, fleet commander of the Valkyrie Empire. We have traveled far to reach your planet, drawn by the electromagnetic signals you broadcast into space." Kim stepped forward, his heart pounding but his voice steady. "I am Commander Kim Dae-ho of Earth Defense Forces. Welcome to our world. We come in peace and hope for peaceful contact." The alien's head tilted in what might have been amusement. "Peace is not a concept we need to discuss. You lack the capability to threaten us, just as we have no immediate intention to harm you. We are here for evaluation." "Evaluation?" Dr. Park spoke up from behind Kim. "What kind of evaluation?" "Your species has reached the stage of planetary radio communication and basic spaceflight. According to Imperial protocol, you must now be assessed to determine your value to the galaxy. You have exactly 7 Earth days to demonstrate why your civilization should be permitted to continue developing. The words hit Kim like a physical blow. This was not first contact between equals. This was a test, and failure meant extinction. What happens if we fail this evaluation? Kim asked, though he dreaded the answer. In the past 1,000 years, the Velthri Empire has encountered 19 species at your level of development. 17 proved unsuitable for independent existence and were placed under imperial management. 1 was deemed too dangerous and was eliminated. Only 1 was granted continued independence. Kim's mouth went dry. Imperial management sounded like slavery with polite words. And what would make us suitable for independence? That remains to be determined. We will test your capabilities in various areas: technology, strategic thinking, cultural achievement, and physical prowess. The evaluation begins tomorrow at dawn. Prepare your best representatives. With that, Vexthar turned and walked back toward the ship, his 2 companions following. The doorway sealed itself behind them as if it had never existed. Kim stood in the sudden silence, surrounded by dozens of people, all looking to him for answers he did not have. Humanity had just learned they were not alone in the universe, and their new neighbors were deciding whether they deserved to survive. He looked up at the alien ship, now silent and mysterious again, and realized that everything humanity had ever accomplished was about to be judged by beings who could cross the stars. The next 7 days would determine the future of every person on Earth. "Get me the president," Kim said quietly to Sujin, "and contact every major government on the planet. We need to work together on this, or we're all going to die together." As the sun set behind the alien vessel, Kim wondered if he had just witnessed humanity's first day in a larger universe, or its last day of freedom. The second day of evaluation began at dawn, just as Vexithar had promised. Commander Kim Dae-ho had not slept at all. He spent the night coordinating with world leaders, scientists, and military experts, trying to prepare for tests they could not even imagine. The alien ship opened again, and this time 5 Velthri emerged. They carried strange devices that projected holographic displays in the air above the parade ground. Within minutes, they had created what looked like a classroom mixed with a laboratory. "Your first evaluation will test your species' intellectual capabilities," Vexthar announced to the assembled crowd of Earth's brightest minds. "We will present problems in mathematics, physics, engineering, and strategic planning. You have 1 hour for each section." Dr. Park Min-ho led the human team, along with 3 Nobel Prize winners, 2 computer scientists, and the best military strategists from 6 different countries. They approached the first test with confidence. After all, humans had split the atom, sent people to the moon, and built computers that could defeat any game. The mathematics section began with problems that looked familiar at first. Then they became harder, much harder. The aliens presented equations that dealt with 11 dimensions instead of 3, and asked for solutions to problems that seemed to break the basic rules of numbers. Dr. Sarah Kim, one of the mathematicians, worked frantically at the holographic interface. "These problems assume mathematical concepts we haven't discovered yet," she whispered to Park. "They're not testing what we know. They're testing what we could know if we had 1,000 more years to learn." The physics section was even worse. The aliens presented scenarios involving faster-than-light travel, matter that existed in multiple places at once, and energy sources that seemed to create power from nothing. The human scientists found themselves guessing at answers to questions about reality itself. Private Cho Jin-woo watched from the crowd of observers, feeling frustrated and angry. He was just a simple soldier from Busan, not smart enough to understand the complex science happening in front of him. But he could understand what was really going on. The aliens were not testing humans fairly. They were showing off. "Look at them," Jin-woo muttered to his friend Private Kim Tae-sung, who stood beside him. "They already know we can't solve these problems. This whole thing is just a game to them." Kim Tae-sung nodded grimly. "It's like giving a math test to a kindergarten kid and then acting surprised when they fail." Jin-woo studied the aliens more carefully as they watched the human scientists struggle. The Velthri stood perfectly still, their crystal-like faces showing no emotion. They moved with smooth, careful motions, like people who had never been in a hurry or faced a real emergency. Everything about them screamed perfection and control. The engineering test was the same story. The aliens presented blueprints for machines that used technologies humans had never seen, They asked for improvements to designs that were already beyond anything Earth could build. Dr. Li Wei, the lead engineer, managed to suggest a few minor changes, but it was clear they were nowhere near the level the aliens expected. "We're failing every test," General Han So-young said quietly to Kim Dae-ho as they watched the strategic planning section begin. "Our best people can't even understand most of these problems." The strategic planning test at least dealt with concepts humans could recognize. The aliens presented warfare scenarios involving multiple planets, space fleets, and weapons that could destroy entire star systems. Earth's military leaders did better here, but it was obvious their strategies were primitive compared to what the aliens expected. As the day wore on, Jinwoo noticed something the scientists and officers seemed to miss. The aliens were bored. They watched the human attempts at problem-solving the way adults might watch children playing with toys. There was no excitement, no curiosity, no surprise at anything the humans did. They've seen all this before, Jinwoo realized, with other species. They already know how this is going to end. When the intellectual tests finished, Vexthar addressed the assembled humans again. "Your performance was as expected for a species at your developmental level. Tomorrow we will test your cultural achievements and artistic capabilities." That evening, Jinwoo could not stop thinking about what he had observed. While the scientists and politicians held emergency meetings to prepare for the next day, he walked around Seoul, looking at his city with new eyes. He saw the small restaurant where his grandmother had worked for 50 years, serving the same kimchi recipe her mother had taught her. He saw children playing in a park, laughing at games that probably hadn't changed in centuries. He saw old men playing chess on street corners, taking their time with each move because the game mattered to them. None of this would impress the aliens. These things were not advanced or perfect, but they were real and they were human, and they existed because people chose to keep them alive even when easier options were available. The third day brought tests of human art, music, literature, and cultural achievements. Earth's representatives presented symphonies, paintings, poetry, and stories from every civilization on the planet. They showed the aliens everything from ancient cave paintings to modern digital art. The Veil-3 observed everything with the same emotionless attention they had given to the science tests. They recorded data, took measurements, and made notes on their strange devices, but Jinwoo could see they were not moved by any of it. Beauty, it seemed, was just another thing they could analyze and categorize. "Your cultural development shows creativity within expected parameters," Vexthar announced when the artistic presentations ended. "Tomorrow will be your final evaluation. We will test your species' physical capabilities and warrior spirit." General Han stepped forward. "What exactly does that mean?" "Combat. One of your fighters against one of ours. This will determine whether your species has the strength to survive in a dangerous galaxy, or if you require Imperial protection." Jinwoo felt his heart start beating faster. Finally, a test that might be fair. Humans knew how to fight. They had been doing it for thousands of years. "We will select our finest warrior," General Han said confidently. "Captain Yang Hyun-sik has cybernetic enhancements and 40 years of combat experience." Vexthar's head tilted slightly. "Very well. The combat will take place tomorrow at midday. Our champion is Kethvar, elite warrior of the Veil-3 Empire. He has not been defeated in over 3 centuries of battle." As the aliens returned to their ship, Jinwoo stared at the silent vessel and felt something cold settle in his stomach. 3 centuries. Captain Yang was the best fighter humanity had, but 3 centuries of victories meant their opponent had probably faced thousands of different species and learned from every battle. "We're going to lose," he said quietly to himself. "We're going to lose, and then we'll spend the rest of our lives as slaves to beings who see us as nothing more than interesting animals." But even as he thought it, Jinwoo felt something else rising in his chest. It was not hope exactly, but it was not surrender either. It was the stubborn human refusal to accept defeat, even when defeat was certain. Tomorrow humanity would fight for its freedom, and Jinwoo intended to be there to watch no matter how it ended. The 4th day dawned gray and cold over Seoul. Private Cho Jinwoo had barely slept, his mind filled with images of humanity's last chance slipping away. He arrived at the parade ground early to find thousands of people already gathering. News crews from around the world had set up cameras. This fight would be broadcast to every nation on Earth. Captain Yang Hyun-sik stood near the alien ship, running through warm-up exercises. His cybernetic arms moved with perfect precision, and his enhanced legs could launch him 3 meters into the air. At 55 years old, he was still the deadliest fighter in the Korean military. If anyone could face an alien warrior and survive, it was Yang. "Final systems check," Yang called to his technical team. They ran diagnostic tests on his cybernetic implants, making sure every circuit was working perfectly. These enhancements had made him superhuman by Earth standards. He could punch through steel plates and move faster than normal human eyes could follow. Commander Kim Dae-ho watched nervously as the alien ship opened. 5 Valkyrie emerged, but the one in the center was clearly different. Where the others moved with smooth grace, this one moved like a predator. Even standing still, Kethvar radiated danger. The alien warrior was nearly 4 meters tall, with muscles visible beneath his crystal-like skin. His forearms were each equipped with weapons that seemed to flow like liquid metal, changing shape based on his needs. Armor covered his torso, but it was not bulky metal. Instead, it looked like a second skin that rippled and shifted with his movements. "Impressive," Dr. Park Min-ho whispered to Jin-woo, who had managed to get close to the front of the crowd. "That armor is probably adaptive. It will become harder when struck and more flexible when he needs to move quickly." Jin-woo nodded but kept studying Kethvar's face. Unlike the other aliens, this one's crystal features showed expression. His eyes held the cold confidence of someone who had killed many times and expected to kill again today. "People of Earth," Vexthar announced, his voice carrying across the silent crowd. "This combat will determine your species' final evaluation. Your champion will face Kethvar in unarmed combat. Victory earns your independence. Defeat means imperial management of your world." Yang stepped forward, his cybernetic systems humming quietly. But as he moved into the combat area, warning lights suddenly flashed on his arm display. His technical team rushed over, checking connections and running emergency diagnostics. "What is wrong?" General Han demanded. The lead technician's face went pale. "Some kind of electromagnetic pulse from their ship. It has fried his primary systems. The backup circuits are failing too." Yang tried to activate his enhanced strength, but his cybernetic arms barely responded. His speed boosters were completely dead. In seconds, he had gone from superhuman fighter to just another middle-aged man with expensive metal in his body. "We need time to repair this," the technician said desperately. "There is no time," Vexthar replied coldly. "The combat begins now, or humanity forfeits." Jin-woo watched Yang's shoulders sag as the man realized his enhancements were useless. Without his cybernetics, Yang was brave and skilled, but he was still just human facing an alien warrior who had been killing for 3 centuries. "I will still fight," Yang said quietly, but Jin-woo could hear the defeat in his voice. That was when something inside Jin-woo snapped. All his life, he had watched other people make the important decisions. Scientists solved the big problems, officers gave the orders, politicians made the speeches. Jin-woo was just a simple soldier who followed commands and tried not to get in the way. But this was different. This was not about being smart enough or important enough. This was about someone needing to stand up and fight for humanity, even when fighting was hopeless. "No," Jin-woo said, stepping forward from the crowd. "I will fight." Everyone turned to stare at him. General Han looked confused. "Private, return to your position." "With respect, sir, Captain Yang cannot win without his enhancements." "But I do not think his enhancements would have mattered anyway." Jin-woo looked directly at Kethvar. "This alien has fought enhanced warriors from other worlds. He knows how to beat them. Maybe he does not know how to beat someone with nothing to lose." Commander Kim stepped close to Jin-woo. "Son, this is not courage. This is suicide." "Maybe," Jin-woo admitted. "But if we are going to lose, let's lose fighting like humans instead of trying to be something we are not." The crowd murmured as Jin-woo walked toward the combat area. He was young, maybe 25, with the lean build of a soldier who had grown up poor. His uniform was standard military issue with no special equipment. Against the massive alien warrior, he looked like a child facing a giant. Kethvar studied Jin-woo with what might have been curiosity. "You have no enhancements. No weapons, no armor. Why do you choose to die?" "Because someone has to try," Jin-woo replied simply. "And because I would rather die standing than live kneeling." The alien warrior tilted his head. "Interesting. Very well, human. Let us see how you face death." The combat area was marked by energy barriers that created a circle 50 meters wide. Jinwoo walked to one side while Kethvar took the opposite position. The size difference was even more obvious now. The aliens' reach advantage alone should have ended any fight before it began. Begin, Vexthar commanded. Kethvar moved first, crossing the distance between them in 2 quick steps. His first weapon formed into a blade that cut through the air where Jinwoo's head had been a second before. The young soldier had thrown himself sideways, rolling away from the strike. The alien's second arm swung down like a hammer, but Jinwoo was already moving again. He could not match Kethvar's speed or strength, but he could be unpredictable. Instead of trying to attack, he focused entirely on not dying. For the first minute, Jinwoo managed to avoid every strike through pure desperation. He rolled, jumped, and crawled around the combat area like his life depended on it, which it did. The crowd watched in tense silence as their unlikely champion danced around death. But avoidance could not last forever. Kethvar's third arm caught Jinwoo with a glancing blow that sent him tumbling across the ground. The alien's armor had formed spikes that left deep cuts across Jinwoo's ribs. Jinwoo struggled to his feet, blood running down his side. Kethvar approached more slowly now, confident that the real fight was over. You are quick for your species, but speed without strength is meaningless. The alien struck again, this time connecting solidly with Jinwoo's shoulder. The impact lifted the human off his feet and threw him against the energy barrier. Jinwoo hit the ground hard and did not get up immediately. Yield, Kethvar said, standing over him. You have shown courage. I will make your death quick. Jinwoo coughed up blood but forced himself to stand. Not yet. What happened next surprised everyone, including Jinwoo himself. As Kethvar raised his weapon for the killing blow, Jinwoo did something completely illogical. Instead of trying to dodge again, he stepped forward into the attack. The alien's weapon pierced his chest, but Jinwoo grabbed Kethvar's arm and held on. For the first time in the fight, the alien looked uncertain. This was not how defeated enemies were supposed to behave. Using his own ribs, broken by the alien's earlier strikes, Jinwoo found a sharp edge of bone that had pushed through his skin. With his last strength, he drove it toward the one spot he had noticed in Kethvar's armor, a tiny gap where the alien's joints met. The improvised weapon found its mark. Both fighters stood frozen for a moment, locked together by pain and surprise. Then Kethvar stepped back, dark fluid leaking from the small wound Jinwoo had managed to inflict. They stared at each other across the combat area. Kethvar was barely injured, but for the first time in 3 centuries, someone had managed to hurt him. Jinwoo was dying from his wounds, but he was still standing. Impossible, the alien warrior whispered. Then, to everyone's amazement, Kethvar fell to one knee and lowered his head. I yield. The silence that followed Kethvar's surrender was complete. 10,000 humans stood frozen in disbelief, while the 5 Vielthri stared at their defeated champion with something that looked like shock. Private Cho Jinwoo collapsed to his knees, blood pooling around him on the ground. The wound in his chest was serious, but the alien's weapon had somehow avoided his vital organs. Dr. Park Min-ho rushed forward with a medical team, working quickly to stabilize the young soldier who had just done the impossible. Get him to surgery immediately, Dr. Park ordered as they loaded Jinwoo onto a stretcher. This man just saved our entire species. But even as the medical team worked, everyone's attention remained focused on the aliens. Vexthar stood completely motionless, his crystal features unreadable. The other Vielthri seemed to be communicating through some method humans could not detect, their bodies occasionally flickering with patterns of light. Kethvar remained kneeling in the combat area, staring at the small wound on his arm. Dark fluid still seeped from it, proof that a primitive human using nothing but broken bone had managed to penetrate armor that had turned aside energy weapons from advanced civilizations. Commander Kim, Daeho approached the alien leader carefully. The combat is finished. Our fighter defeated yours. According to your own rules, humanity has earned its independence. Vexthar turned to face him, and for the first time since the aliens had arrived, his voice carried emotion. Your species has presented us with something we did not expect to encounter. We require time to process this development. What development? General Han demanded. A fight is a fight. Jinwoo won. No, Vexthar replied slowly. Your Jinwoo did something far more significant than win. He did something that should have been impossible. The alien leader gestured toward Kethvar, who was finally rising to his feet. This warrior has faced the champions of 18 different species across 3 centuries. He has defeated beings with natural armor stronger than metal, Creatures with toxic claws that dissolve matter on contact. Fighters with multiple brains that can predict every possible attack. Vexthar paused, studying the blood on the ground where Jinwoo had fallen. In all that time facing all those enhanced and naturally superior opponents, none of them managed to inflict even the smallest injury on Kethvar. Yet your weakest representative, using nothing but biological components and determination, found a way to hurt him. Dr. Kim Yoon-ji, a behavioral psychologist who had been brought in to observe the aliens, stepped forward. You are not upset that your warrior lost. You are surprised that it was possible for him to lose it all. Correct. Vexithar's admission sent a chill through the human observers. The Vialthri Empire has existed for over 10,000 years. In that time, we have become very efficient at predicting outcomes. We can calculate the result of any conflict before it begins, which is why we always win. Commander Kim felt his stomach drop. You knew we would fail your tests. We knew you would perform exactly as you did. Your mathematics, science, technology, and culture all developed within expected parameters for a species at your level. Even your enhanced champion performed as our models predicted he would. Vexthar turned toward the medical building where Jinwoo was being treated. But that young soldier did something our models said was impossible. He succeeded through means we could not calculate or predict. The implications of this statement began to sink in among the human leadership. General Han spoke carefully. What exactly are you telling us? Before Vexthar could answer, another alien stepped forward. This one was smaller than the others, with different markings on his crystal skin. I am Commander Rio, then, second in Imperial Command. Perhaps it is time for complete honesty. Vexithar made a gesture that might have been agreement. Rio then continued speaking, his translated voice carrying something that sounded almost like sadness. The Vialthri Empire is dying, he said simply. We have become so advanced, so perfect at what we do, that we no longer grow or change. We have not faced a real challenge in over 1,000 years. Every problem we encounter has a solution we already know. Every enemy we meet behaves in ways we have seen before. Dr. Park, who had returned from the medical building, stared at the alien in amazement. You are suffering from success. You have solved so many problems that you no longer remember how to solve new ones. Precisely. We travel the galaxy not to find subjects to conquer, but to find something we have lost. The ability to be surprised. The capacity to grow through unexpected challenges. Commander Kim began to understand. The other species you evaluated, what happened to them? Those we placed under Imperial management received our technology and our protection. Within a few generations, they became like us. Perfect, predictable, and stagnant. The one species we granted independence chose isolation, and eventually destroyed itself through warfare we could have prevented. Rio then gestured toward the medical building. But your Jinwoo has shown us something different. He proved that raw biological determination, creativity, and the refusal to accept logical defeat can overcome seemingly impossible odds. This is not something we can create with technology or teach through our educational systems. Dr. Kim Yoon-ji looked between the aliens with growing excitement. You do not want to conquer us or manage us. You want to learn from us. We want to remember what it means to fight for something uncertain, Vexthar confirmed. What it means to try when success is not guaranteed. What it means to grow through struggle rather than stagnate in comfort. The revelation hit the assembled humans like a physical blow. They had spent 4 days being evaluated by beings they thought were deciding whether humanity deserved to live. Instead, the aliens had been desperately searching for something they had lost in their journey to perfection. Your species possesses something we gave up long ago in our pursuit of efficiency, Rio then explained. The willingness to attempt impossible things simply because they need to be attempted. Jinwoo could not defeat Kethvar through superior strength or advanced technology. So he used his own broken body as a weapon and found victory in a place logic said it could not exist. General Han shook his head in amazement. All this time we thought you were testing whether we were good enough for you. In a sense, you were testing whether we were good enough for you, Vexthar replied. Whether we still possessed the capacity to be surprised by courage and creativity we had forgotten how to measure. The alien leader looked toward the medical building where Jinwoo was recovering from surgery. That young soldier did not defeat our champion through any advantage we could quantify. He won through the one thing our perfect civilization lacks, the stubborn refusal to surrender when surrender is the logical choice. Commander Kim felt a strange mix of relief and confusion. So what happens now? Are we free? You are free, Vexthar confirmed. But more than that, we would like to propose something that has never happened in the history of our empire. We would like to learn from you, instead of you learning from us. The humans exchanged glances. After 4 days of feeling primitive and inadequate, they were being told that their imperfections were exactly what an advanced alien civilization desperately needed. What kind of learning? Dr. Park asked cautiously. We want to understand how beings who can calculate the odds of failure and choose to try anyway, how creatures who can be broken and still refuse to stay broken, how a species can remain creative and adaptable even when facing certain defeat. Ryo then stepped closer to the humans. We offer you our technology and our protection from other cosmic threats. In return, we ask for something far more valuable, the chance to remember what it means to be truly alive instead of merely perfect. As the implications of this unprecedented offer began to sink in, Commander Kim realized that Jinwoo's impossible victory had changed everything. Humanity had not just earned their freedom, they had become teachers to beings who had forgotten one of the most important lessons in the universe. Sometimes, the most advanced thing you can do is refuse, to give up when giving up makes perfect sense. 2 days after the impossible fight, Private Cho Jin-woo woke up in a hospital bed surrounded by flowers, letters, and gifts from people all over the world. His chest was wrapped in bandages, but the doctor said he would make a full recovery. The alien weapon had somehow sealed the worst damage even as it injured him. You are awake, a familiar voice said. Jin-woo turned to see Commander Kim Dae-ho sitting in a chair beside his bed. How do you feel? Confused, Jin-woo answered honestly. People keep calling me a hero, but I lost that fight. I was dying when Kethvar surrendered. You did not lose, Kim said gently. You did something more important than winning. You showed them something they had never seen before. Through his window, Jin-woo could see the alien ship still parked on the parade ground, but now it was surrounded by temporary buildings where humans and Velthri were working together on something he could not understand. What is happening out there? He asked. The most important negotiations in human history, Kim replied. The aliens want to make us an offer, but first they want to talk to you. Jin-woo felt his stomach tighten. Me? Why me? Because you are the one who changed everything. They have been studying recordings of your fight, trying to understand how you did what their computer said was impossible. An hour later, Jin-woo was sitting in a wheelchair in a conference room filled with world leaders, scientists, and military officers. At the center of the room, Vexthar and Commander Ryo then waited patiently for the meeting to begin. Jin-woo, Vexthar said, using his name for the first time. We have spent much time analyzing your combat with Kethvar. Our best tactical computers cannot explain your victory through any logical process. Jin-woo shifted uncomfortably in his wheelchair. I do not understand what you want me to say. I was scared and desperate. I just tried to survive as long as possible. Exactly, Ryo then said with what sounded like excitement. You succeeded through desperation, intuition, and the refusal to accept defeat. These are qualities our civilization has forgotten how to value. Dr. Park Min-ho leaned forward. What exactly are you proposing? Vexthar activated a holographic display that showed star maps and technical diagrams. The Velthri Empire controls territories spanning thousands of star systems. We possess technology that could solve most of your species' problems. Unlimited energy, faster than light travel, medical advances that could extend human life for centuries. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. General Han spoke carefully. And in exchange? We want to learn how to be human again, Ryo then said simply. Not literally, of course, but we want to understand how beings can face impossible odds and choose to fight anyway, how creatures can be broken and still find ways to keep trying, how a species can remain creative when creativity seems pointless. Ambassador Lee Jaemin, who had been quietly taking notes, looked up from her tablet. You want us to teach you how to struggle? We want to remember what it means to live with uncertainty, Vexthar confirmed. For thousands of years, we have existed in a state of perfect prediction. We know the outcome of every action before we take it. We have eliminated surprise, challenge, and the possibility of failure from our lives. Jin-woo listened to the conversation with growing amazement. You are saying that being weak made me strong? Not weak, Ryo then corrected. Vulnerable. There is a difference. Weakness is inability. Vulnerability is the choice to try despite the possibility of failure. Dr. Kim Yoon-ji, the psychologist, had been studying the aliens throughout the discussion. This is why you have been traveling the galaxy. Not to conquer worlds, but to find something you lost in your pursuit of perfection. Correct. We have evaluated hundreds of species, hoping to find one that could teach us what we forgot. Most were too primitive to offer insights. Others became like us once they received advanced technology. Vexithar gestured toward Jinwu. But your species has shown us something different. The ability to find strength in desperation, wisdom in failure, and victory in defeat. President Chen Wei, who had flown in from Beijing for the negotiations, spoke for the first time. What would this partnership look like? Limited exchanges at first, Rio then explained. Small groups of Veil 3 would live among humans, experiencing your challenges and uncertainties. In return, small groups of humans would work with our scientists and engineers, helping us understand how to value struggle and growth over efficiency and perfection. The proposal created immediate debate among the human leaders. Some saw it as the opportunity of a lifetime, access to technology that could transform civilization. Others worried about losing what made humanity special. What if your technology makes us like you? Dr. Park asked. What if we become so advanced that we forget how to struggle too? That is the central challenge, Vexthar admitted. We must find a way to share knowledge without destroying the very qualities that make knowledge valuable. Jinwu had been listening quietly, but now he spoke up. Can I ask Kethavar something? The alien warrior had been standing silently at the edge of the room. At the mention of his name, he stepped forward. Yes, Jinwu. Why did you surrender? You were winning. Kethavar was quiet for a long moment, because you taught me something I had forgotten. For 3 centuries, I have fought opponents who tried to defeat me through superior strength, speed, or weapons. When they realized they could not win, they either surrendered or died quickly. The alien warrior touched the small scar on his arm where Jinwu's improvised weapon had found its mark. But you did something different. You used your own broken body as a weapon. You turned your injuries into advantages. You found a way to hurt me by sacrificing yourself. Kethavar looked directly at Jinwu. In that moment, I realized I was not fighting a warrior trying to win. I was fighting someone who had already accepted loss but refused to accept defeat. That is something I have not encountered in all my battles across the stars. The room was completely silent as the alien continued. I surrendered because you showed me that there are forms of victory I have never learned to recognize. And for the first time in centuries, I wanted to learn something new. Ambassador Li looked around the room at the assembled leaders. This is not just about technology or military alliance. This is about preserving what makes us human while learning what lies beyond human limitations. Exactly, Vexthar confirmed. We propose a partnership of equals. Not conquest or management, but mutual education between species who have much to teach each other. The negotiations continued for hours, working out details of exchange programs, technology sharing, and safeguards to prevent either species from losing their essential nature. But Jinwu found his attention drifting to the bigger picture. A few days ago, he had been just another soldier, unimportant and forgotten. Now, by refusing to surrender when surrender made perfect sense, he had become a bridge between worlds. Not because he was special, but because he had done something fundamentally human. He had tried anyway when trying seemed pointless. There is one more thing, Jinwu said, as the formal negotiations were winding down. If we do this, if we work together, what happens to the next species you evaluate? Vexthar and Rio then exchanged what might have been a smile. We will not be evaluating other species for conquest or management anymore. Instead, we will be seeking partners who can teach us different ways to grow and learn. You have changed not just our relationship with humanity, but our approach to the entire galaxy. As the meeting ended and the world leaders began planning humanity's first steps into a larger universe, Jinwu sat quietly in his wheelchair and marveled at how much had changed. He had entered that combat area expecting to die defending his species' freedom. Instead, he had discovered that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is show someone else what courage looks like, even when courage is not enough to win. 6 months after the fight that changed everything, Private Cho Jinwu stood in the observation deck of humanity's first interstellar vessel, watching Earth grow smaller through the massive viewport. His injuries had healed completely, leaving only small scars as reminders of the day he faced an alien warrior with nothing but determination. The ship around him was Something impossible, a blend of human creativity and Vel-3 technology that neither species could have built alone. Human engineers had contributed ideas for making the ship feel like home, while alien scientists provided propulsion systems that could cross the galaxy in weeks instead of centuries. "Are you nervous?" asked Captain Nam Yuri, who had been chosen to lead the joint exploration mission. She was one of 12 humans aboard the vessel, working alongside 12 Vel-3 crew members. "A little," Jinwoo admitted. "6 months ago I was just a soldier who followed orders. Now I'm supposed to be some kind of ambassador between species." Through the viewport he could see other ships in their small fleet. Each one contained mixed crews learning to work together in ways that had never been attempted before. The partnership between humans and Vel-3 was still new and sometimes difficult, but it was working. "You are not just an ambassador," said a familiar voice behind them. Jinwoo turned to see Kethavar approaching, his crystal features reflecting the light from distant stars. Over the past months, the alien warrior had become something Jinwoo never expected. A friend. "You are a teacher," Kethavar continued, "and I am still learning from you." The changes in Kethavar were remarkable. The alien who had once moved with perfect, deadly precision now carried himself differently. He had requested to train with human soldiers, learning combat techniques that relied on creativity and adaptation instead of overwhelming force. "How is your progress with Captain Yang?" Jinwoo asked. Kethavar touched the practice sword at his side, a human weapon he had chosen to master. "Your enhanced fighter is an excellent instructor. He teaches me to see combat as a conversation instead of a formula. Yesterday he defeated me 3 times using techniques I had never encountered." Jinwoo smiled. Captain Yang had initially been devastated by his equipment failure during the evaluation fight, but working with Kethavar had given him a new purpose. He was teaching the most advanced warrior in the galaxy how to be unpredictable. "And you?" Kethavar asked Jinwoo. "How do you find your studies with our technicians?" Jinwoo glanced at the datapad in his hand. Filled with alien science he was slowly beginning to understand. "Overwhelming. Dr. Vexmore is trying to teach me physics that assume 11 dimensions. I can barely handle the 3 dimensions I grew up with." "But you are learning," Captain Nam pointed out. "That is what matters. None of us expected this to be easy." She was right. The exchange program had produced amazing results, but it had also revealed how difficult it was for both species to change their fundamental approaches to life. Humans struggled with technology so advanced it seemed like magic, while Vel-3 found it almost impossible to accept uncertainty and failure as valuable experiences. "Report from the Seoul facility," came a voice over the ship's communication system. "Dr. Park Min-ho wishes to speak with Jinwoo." Jinwoo activated the long-range communicator and Dr. Park's face appeared on the screen. Behind him, Jinwoo could see the expanded research complex that had grown around the original alien landing site. "Jinwoo, I wanted to give you an update on the volunteer program," Dr. Park said with obvious excitement. "We now have 50 Vel-3 living in cities around the world, experiencing human daily life. And the results are remarkable." The screen switched to show various scenes from Earth. Jinwoo saw aliens working in human restaurants, attending university classes, and even participating in local sports teams. They moved with less perfection than before, showing signs of the small failures and successes that made human life unpredictable. "Commander Tethran actually got lost in Tokyo yesterday," Dr. Park continued with amusement. "Instead of using his navigation systems, he asked for directions from strangers. He said it was the first time in centuries he had experienced genuine confusion, and he found it refreshing." Jinwoo laughed. The idea of an advanced alien getting lost in a human city and enjoying the experience would have seemed impossible 6 months ago. "What about the humans working with alien technology?" Captain Nam asked. Dr. Park's expression became more serious. "That is more challenging. We are being very careful not to advance too quickly. The goal is to learn new ways of thinking, not to become dependent on tools we do not understand." Engineer Park Ji-hoon appeared on the screen next to Dr. Park. "We are focusing on collaborative projects where human intuition guides Vel-3 precision. Yesterday, our combined team solved a power distribution problem that had puzzled alien engineers for decades. The solution came from a human artist who approached the issue as a design challenge instead of a mathematical equation. This was exactly what the partnership was supposed to achieve, not humans becoming more like aliens, Or aliens becoming more like humans, but both species becoming something new through cooperation. There is other news, Dr. Park continued. 3 more species have made contact with the Val-3 Empire in the past month. But instead of evaluation for conquest, they are being invited to participate in cultural exchanges similar to ours. Jinwoo felt a rush of pride. The change in Val-3 policy meant that his desperate fight had influenced not just human-alien relations, but the entire approach of an advanced civilization to the galaxy around them. The Korthani from the Vega system are particularly interested in human art, Engineer Park added. They have developed technology that can create perfect visual reproductions of anything, but they have forgotten how to create beauty that moves the soul. Captain Nam shook her head in amazement. 6 months ago we were facing extinction. Now we are teaching art classes to aliens. And learning mathematics that redefines reality, Jinwoo added, holding up his datapad. Commander Rio then showed me equations yesterday that describe how consciousness can exist in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The communication ended, and the 3 of them stood quietly in the observation deck, watching the stars ahead. Their mission was to explore a system where the Val-3 had detected unusual energy patterns, something that might require human intuition to understand properly. Jinwoo, Kethvar said after a long silence. May I ask you something that has puzzled me for months? Of course. During our combat, there was a moment when you could have tried to escape instead of attacking. You were badly injured and retreat would have been the logical choice. Why did you choose to move forward? Jinwoo considered the question carefully. It was something he had thought about often during his recovery. I think it was because running away would have meant accepting that the fight was over, and I was not ready for it to be over. Even though you knew you would probably die, especially because I knew I would probably die. If I was going to lose anyway, I wanted to lose while still trying to win. Kethvar was quiet for a moment. We have a concept in Val-3 philosophy called inevitable progression, the idea that all events move toward predictable conclusions based on measurable factors. Your fight taught me that some outcomes are not inevitable even when they seem certain. Captain Nam smiled. Is that why you requested to join this exploration mission instead of returning to military duty? Yes. For 3 centuries I knew exactly what each day would bring: combat, victory, and preparation for the next combat. Now I wake up not knowing what I will learn or how I might fail or succeed. It is terrifying and wonderful. Jinwoo understood completely. His own life had become something he never could have imagined. From a simple soldier to a bridge between worlds, all because he had refused to give up when giving up made perfect sense. As their ship approached the edge of the solar system, preparing to make its first jump to hyperspace, Jinwoo thought about the message he would send back to Earth once they reached their destination. The exploration mission was more than just scientific research. It was proof that the partnership between humans and Val-3 could work on the grandest scale. 2 species traveling together toward unknown discoveries, each contributing their unique strengths to challenges neither could face alone. Jump coordinates confirmed, announced Dr. Lim Sora from the navigation station. She was working with Val-3 navigator Kethnal to plot courses through space using a combination of human intuition and alien precision. All systems ready, reported Engineer Collins from the engine room, his voice carrying through the ship's communication system. The human engineer was working with alien technicians to monitor propulsion systems that bent the laws of physics in ways humans were still learning to understand. Jinwoo felt the familiar flutter of nervousness in his stomach. This would be his first experience with faster-than-light travel. The Val-3 had assured the human crew that it was perfectly safe, but Jinwoo had learned not to trust perfection completely. Initiating hyperspace jump in 10 seconds, Captain Nam announced to the entire ship. Jinwoo gripped the railing of the observation deck and watched the stars ahead begin to shift and blur. The universe outside the viewport stretched and twisted in ways that hurt to look at directly. Then suddenly they were somewhere else entirely. The new star system spread out before them, dominated by a bright yellow sun surrounded by planets that glowed with colors Jinwoo had never seen before. But what caught everyone's attention was the massive structure floating in the system's outer edge. What is that? Captain Nam asked, staring at the object through the viewport. It was clearly artificial. A geometric shape the size of a small moon, covered in patterns that seemed to shift and change as they watched. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Kithvar studied the readings on his instruments with obvious confusion. Our databases contain no record of this structure. It should not exist here. Dr. Vexmore's voice came over the communication system from the science lab. The energy patterns are unlike anything in Val-3 records. The mathematics involved in its construction appear to be impossible. Jinwoo smiled at the familiar word. 6 months ago, his victory over Kethvar had been called impossible. Now they were facing another impossibility, and this time they would face it together. Well, Jinwoo said, looking at his alien friend and his human captain. I guess we have some new questions to answer. Captain Nam activated the ship's communication system. All stations prepare for detailed sensor scans. We are about to discover something that neither human science nor Val-3 technology predicted. As their ship moved closer to the mysterious structure, Jinwoo reflected on how much his life had changed. He had entered that combat arena 6 months ago as a simple soldier facing certain death. He had emerged as living proof that determination and creativity could overcome seemingly impossible odds. Now he was traveling among the stars, part of a crew that represented the best of both species working together. They were explorers, scientists, and friends, venturing into the unknown with the knowledge that whatever they found, they would face it with both human courage and alien wisdom. The structure ahead held mysteries that would require both species to solve, and Jinwoo knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would meet them the same way he had met Kethvar in that arena, with determination, creativity, and the stubborn refusal to accept that anything was truly impossible. He opened a communication channel to record his first log entry from interstellar space. Personal log, Jinwoo Cho, day 183 since first contact. We have just arrived at our first exploration target and discovered something that challenges everything. Both our species thought we knew about the universe. 6 months ago, Commander Vexthar asked me why I fought when I could not win. I think I finally understand the answer. I fought because the act of trying is sometimes more important than the result. And sometimes, when you refuse to accept that something is impossible, you discover that impossible was just another word for something no one had figured out how to do yet. Today we begin the next chapter of what humans and Val-3 can accomplish together, not as conquerors or subjects, but as partners exploring a universe full of wonders that neither species could discover alone. Jinwoo closed the log and looked out at the mysterious structure ahead. Whatever secrets it held, whatever challenges it presented, he knew they would face them together. And maybe, just maybe, they would discover that the most impossible thing of all was not his victory over an alien elite, but the friendship and understanding that victory had made possible. The stars stretched endlessly ahead of them, full of mysteries waiting to be solved by beings who had learned that the greatest strength comes not from perfection, but from the willingness to keep trying when trying seems hopeless.